On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, can you smell that? Madness is in the air. 22 ranked teams. This is true. This is a fact. I went back and counted it up like 5 different times. In the last 7 days, since the last AP poll came out, so we record these on Monday morning. The AP poll comes out on Monday morning. So every time we sit down to record on a Monday, the new poll has not come out yet. So we're still living in last week's poll era, if that makes sense, right? In the last 7 days, since the last poll came out, there have been 22 ranked losses.
Wow.
There have been games where 22 different times a ranked team has taken the court and left with a loss. Now, not in every situation was it like an unranked team that beat them. There were a lot of ranked versus ranked teams, obviously. So not all of those were upsets. But 19 of the AP top 25 lost in the last 7 days. 19, just 7 days. 19 of the top 25.
I don't know if that's good, bad, but that's crazy.
7 of the top 10 lost. It's madness. That's the only word to describe it. It's madness. We're setting up for some absolute madness in March, like we always do. But that seems I honestly like. Obviously, the sport is crazy and chaotic, and that's why we love it, and that's what keeps people coming back, especially in the tournament. But I do feel like the last few years, and we don't need to beat to death the portal conversation, the NIL, and all that. But I do feel like the parity in the last few years has been ramped up. I do feel like the era. I feel like we might be done with the. They're like 5 to 7 juggernauts and then everybody else, or and you could argue maybe it is Auburn and Duke and everyone else this year, but Bama's like, wait a second, we might be in that conversation after Saturday. We did lose Ole Miss, but we're back again. We were not back, now we're back, now we're not back, now we're back. Bama, when they're rolling, they look good. I don't know where the cutoff is. It could be Auburn, Duke, but I thought Iowa State might be in the mix. They lose at West Virginia. Yeah, it's just absolute chaos. But I think that's the new norm in college basketball. Is I think that any given week we could just see 1,000 teams that are ranked lose, and then you just put all the teams back in the hat and shuffle it up and draw them out when it's time to release the poll. I guess that's where we're at. But yeah, what happened this weekend? Bama Kentucky gave us the game of the weekend. Mm-hmm. There were 12 players. 12 players in this game scored double-figure points, and that doesn't include Andrew Carr, who was banged up for Kentucky, and I think if he was 100%, he probably would have been player number 13 to score double figures. Just an incredible game, like we expected it to be. These are two teams that love to shoot threes, love to play up tempo, and not just shoot threes, but move the ball. And there were a ton of assists in this game. It was very, very fun to watch. If you're if you're an NBA fan who's kind of over the NBA, or maybe you're not even over the NBA, you just want to get into college basketball a little bit, but you find college basketball unwatchable. This Kentucky team, man, they seem to just keep putting on the best show every week. Between the Florida game in Rupp and this game in Rupp, which was, I guess, a couple weeks ago, just two all-time bangers. And, this weekend was great. One of the games where someone had to lose and ended up being Kentucky. Bama gets the big bounce-back win after the Ole Miss debacle. And for the first time all season, Kentucky loses when they score 70-plus.
Ooh.
It's the first time it happened. That's what we've been saying about the Cats. Cats score 70, they're going to win. Not so fast. Alabama says
they can't give up 100, though.
They can't give up 100. That's the problem. Grant Nelson and Mark Sears were awesome for Bama, 25 and 24. And Bama, like I said, had big-time stinker at home against Ole Miss, but bounced back against Kentucky. And I think if you would have told Bama fans at the start of the week you're going to split this week, they would have said, yeah, we'll take that. I don't think they would have assumed that it would have played out like it did, but I think they would have taken a one and one week against Ole Miss and Kentucky. Elsewhere, your number one team in the country, the Auburn Tigers, hold off Georgia thanks to Tahad Pettiford's career game. I freaking love this kid. He basically, I don't want to say he only shows up when the lights are bright, but he definitely steps up when the lights are bright. He's a gamer. It's incredible. He has you go back and you look at like his game log against like Monmouth. He's like, yeah, whatever, don't care, whatever. Against Houston, against Georgia, a ranked team, against when he's playing in these big games. He balls out. When he's playing against when he's playing on ESPN Plus or whatever, he's like, yeah, fuck it, I don't really.
He was held scoreless against Vermont.
He was held scoreless.
They scored 94 points. He scored 0.
I think that's when I realized, by the way, it might be a long season for the Buckeyes. Is Tahad Pettiford didn't respect us. He only had like 9 points against us.
That's insulting.
We won by 1,000 and he only had 9, and I was like, or they won by 1,000. I don't know. Yeah, they beat the hell out of us, and he only scored 9, and I was like, damn, we must suck, dude. If Tahad Pettiford doesn't even show up to play Ohio State, that's bad news for Ohio State. Meanwhile, the number 2 team in the country, Iowa State, I said earlier, goes 1 for 17 from 3, crashes out in Morgantown. 27 points for Javon Small for the Mountaineers. I got to say, Javon Small, Cody, came up big in this one. Put a timestamp on that and make sure.
Clip
Got
that.
it. Yeah, clip that. Vandy gets a program win against Tennessee and Nashville. Mark Byington in year 1. These are important wins. Tate, you got to get your program win. You got to give the people. Vanderbilt, by the way, in the mix for the NCAA tournament. I think they were picked to finish last in the SEC. They are very much in the mix and on the bubble and could make the NCAA tournament. But even if it like the bottom falls out from here, in year 1 you get that win, you get the rushing to the court against an in-state rival. That's a huge W. And Vandy did all they could to hand this game away. They were up like 18 in the second half, I think. They were up 8 with like 2 minutes left in the ball. And Chaz Lanier at the free throw line to tie it, misses the free throw that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. And Vandy gets a massive win. Xavier scores 59 points and still beats Marquette in Milwaukee. And all of a sudden, Marquette has a Kam Jones shooting problem that may need to be addressed, and maybe we will address it today. Michigan State is taking control of the Big Ten by virtue of Michigan's loss at Minnesota, and also Brad Underwood getting teed up, or maybe it was an assistant coach. No one really knows because CBS didn't really tell us. But yeah, Illinois, Michigan State on Sunday. Michigan State is rolling. They've won 11 in a row, I think, at this point. For a team that has no talent, I continue to say that. I think at some point I just have to tip my cap and be like, I mean, this team just keeps winning. They keep finding ways to win. They're very fun to watch. I will give them that. And Michigan State is now, kind of in control of the Big Ten. But don't look now. Purdue is on a run as well. Sweeps the West Coast trip, beats Oregon and Eugene. What else happened? UConn loses at home to Creighton. And Creighton suddenly, after a disastrous feast week for Creighton, they got wins over St. John's now. They got a win over Kansas now. They got a win over UConn now. Is Creighton back in the NCAA tournament mix? I think so. Gonzaga goes 0-2 this week. Bad losses. Stinky losses. Whew. PU stinky losses for Gonzaga. And one thing we're definitely not going to do on the show, because we just simply do not have the time, is go through Gonzaga's resume and point out that not a lot of meat on that bone. There's just not a lot of meat on that bone. Anyway, a lot of madness to talk about. A very, very chaotic weekend. That is the new norm in college basketball. And like I said, for a sport that delivers chaos pretty regularly, it continues to just be unpredictable and even more chaotic. They're turning the chaos. It just continues to be turned up and up. And we still have a couple months to go until March Madness. Unbelievable. Let's have some fun today. All right, we'll get to the basketball in a second. If you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere else, it is National Championship Monday, so I just want to acknowledge that I try. I know that you're gonna wear, if we win tonight, you're gonna wear Buckeye stuff basically every day until next National Championship. If we lose, I don't know when the
I have some plans.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that, so I try on this show. I try to not be decked out in Buckeye stuff. It's just let's just be honest. It's a bad look. It's a bad look if you turn it on this show and you see two dipshits decked out in Ohio State stuff. You're like, I'm good.
Yeah, and
especially if you've never watched the show before, and like one of your buddies is like, you like college basketball. You should check out the Titus show, and then you turn this on and you see us dipshits. I understand the visual, so I try to guard against it, but I also wanted to say it is National Championship Monday, and all bets are off on National Championship.
And I'm feeling good too. Are you feeling good? Be honest.
I am. I never feel good, and I'm feeling good, and that makes me feel bad.
Oh no,
that scares me. That makes me think it's a trap. I try not to be a pessimist. I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm just like I have seen things go wrong so often. I'm also, we've talked about this privately, maybe on air before, but I try not to be a guy. And you are this way. I'm not this way. I try not to be a guy that punches the hole in the drywall when we lose. And you're like, no, I am. I will punch a hole in the drywall. I will throw my beer bottle across the room if that's what it takes. I will punch the TV.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. I think you played and I was a fan. Taylor Lewan tried to chirp me for that the other day. Yeah, I know Taylor Lewan. I wasn't. I'm not.
Yeah, you were a player.
300.
So I try to go into the games not. I try to introduce the idea that something could go wrong, so that way when it does, I don't like fucking cancel all my plans and neglect my responsibilities and completely shut down emotionally. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So that's generally my attitude going into games, and I say all that to say I've kind of thrown that by the wayside, and I'm just diving in today, and I'm like, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And that terrifies me because this is I'm not typically this vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm very vulnerable as Ohio State.
In a nutshell, everything that Notre Dame wants to do, we want them to do.
Yeah.
Like they want to run the ball, we're great at defending the run. They want to play man, we have the best receivers in the country. We're gonna win this game.
I'm worried about the Marcus Freeman razzmatazz though. I'm worried about the razzmatazz. I'm worried about him just fucking just not giving a shit.
Good looking us to death.
Just good looking us to death. I'm worried about him just standing on the sidelines, just fucking posting up, like putting one foot up on the wall. There's not even a wall on the sideline, and he finds a way. He just builds his own wall and then like puts a foot up on the wall and then just kind of like squints at the, just kind of gives the.
We have no answer for that.
Just gives it the like squinting eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Chip Kelly's over on our side. It's like,
yeah.
What do we do, Coach?
Anyway, I wanted to address that for anybody watching. I know we look like dipshits.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But also, you have to understand. It's especially given the state of the basketball program, which we're not going to talk about.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk.
To be clear, this is for football.
This is football. We're not going to talk about the basketball. The Friday, we're just not going to talk. We're going to talk about the rest of the country, what is going on in the world of college basketball. I guess we start with the best game of the weekend, Bama, Kentucky. Grant Nelson was the hero. I mean, Mark Sears played really well as well. He was awesome, and Kentucky is kind of finding themselves in a situation where they sort of do need Kirk Kriisa back because Lamont Butler is like the only guy they got that can guard guys. And Kirk Kriisa is – I probably overvalue Kirk Kriisa just because when Kirk Kriisa burst onto the college basketball scene, I couldn't get enough of him. He was a shit talker. There was no shot that he would turn down. He flopped like crazy, but for some reason it was endearing. I don't know. It was the what's the is it an HR meme? Is that the one where you're like the guy says something and you're like, I gotta
wants you to find the difference between.
No. What's the one where it's like the fat guy's hitting on the woman and she's like, oh my god, I gotta call HR, but then the hot guy's hitting on her and she's like, oh. That's, you know what I mean?
That's funny, yeah.
Kirk Kriisa is the hot guy. I'm trying. I spent the week. By the way, full disclosure, I spent all day Saturday with Cody, and I realized you got to talk memes to like.
Yeah, he had one ready to go.
You have to. The only way you can converse with Cody is through memes. So I was trying to.
I do have your meme here, though.
What is it?
When a fat guy says, "Looking good, Susan," she goes, hello, HR. When a good guy does, he goes, "Oh, you're so sweet."
Yeah. So the fat guy is like every other flopping son of a bitch in college basketball, and the good-looking guy is Kirk Kriisa for me because it was like.
That's a great analogy.
He would flop so shamelessly that I was like, "This is so fucking funny." And he would like flop and then like wink at the camera and then like pump the crowd.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I want to punch him in the face, but also I love it.
And we did the NBA Finals together, and your like biggest, pet peeve was people that flop.
I know, and I think it's because the people that flop try to act like they don't flop, and he was so like, this is who I am.
Like, gotcha.
And I'm such a scumbag with the flopping that I don't know. I almost respected it. Anyway, so I say all that. I overvalue Kirk Kriisa. He's not as good of a player as I probably think he is in my mind. But when I watch Kentucky, I'm like, man, they could use him back because they just need like in this game, especially when Mark Sears is dicing him up. Lamont Butler's a great defender, and he did as good a job as anybody can really do against Mark Sears. But Mark Sears is just such a good player, and Alabama's offense is so high octane. It's just like kind of impossible to stop when they're hitting threes. But I just felt like they need the Perry kid that they're bringing off the bench. I love that they're giving him minutes. We talked about that the last Kentucky last show. We were talking about Kentucky, and I said that's the difference between Pope and Calipari's. You got this kid that cut his dick off for Big Blue Nation. You got to give him some burn. I love that he's playing, but at the same time, they kind of just need Kirk Kriisa. They just need his minutes. They need him to like. In this game, he would have drawn like two bad calls on Mark Sears. Got Mark Sears.
Which would have fired everyone up.
He would have flopped twice, got the calls. They just kind of need that wrinkle, and they're obviously good without him, and he's not anywhere close to their best player. But I don't know. That stood out to me as like they could use a little Kirk Kriisa energy right now because they're sort of for how deep they are and how balanced their offense is. Butler's not 100%. I don't think. Even though he's playing pretty well, but I don't think he's 100%, and Andrew Carr's not 100%. Kirk Kriisa's obviously out. I think they're banged up. They need Kriisa back, but I have no idea when he's supposed to get back. So
he's getting the boot off and he's starting rehab in the next week or so.
Okay,
which would be good. So I would assume that just before the end of the season, getting ready for the tournament.
Yeah,
they're back to full health.
There we go.
Great.
The Bama side of things, Alabama is a team that shoots a bunch of threes, does not always make a bunch of threes, but when they are hitting threes, they are obviously very, very good. This was I don't want to get caught in the Alabama roller coaster of every time they play well. It's like, holy shit, they're winning the title, and then they lose.
Because don't forget about what Tuesday.
Yeah, but but then Tuesday you can't forget about Saturday. You can't look at Tuesday and be like, oh shit, Alabama kind of sucks, and they were turning the ball over, and they were getting slowed down a little bit. and their defense, for as good as you think it should be, given that Alabama has been so good defensively the last few years. Last year, they weren't particularly awesome, but like the Nate Oates era is generally like they have like long athletes that can guard. And this team should be good defensively. They're not as good as maybe you expect in Alabama this team to be. And those were the concerns coming out of Tuesday. And then all that goes away on Saturday, and you're just like, listen, if this Bama team can show up and can push tempo and make threes, and you have playmakers like Sears and Nelson in this game, and it's typically always those guys, but Phylons can be all like they empower all their guys. Like all the guys that see the floor on Bama are told go make plays, and they generally do. Yeah, Bama is if that version of Bama shows up 6 times in the NCAA tournament, of course they can win a national championship. Mm-hmm. But as we talk about often, like the nature of the NCAA tournament is such that you do sort of need a plan B. And, that's what makes this week so interesting, is that, like, on the one hand, I am encouraged about Bama because they have not been shooting the three well at all this season. They have, for a team that shoots a bunch of threes and should be a good shooting team, I think they have shooters. I think each guy steps into shots confidently. But on the totality of the season, they are not shooting the ball well.
They're 233rd in the country, shooting about 30%. They shot 38% on Saturday.
Yeah, but you feel like Saturday, if you feel like they're better shooters than what they've been this year, and Saturday was maybe a step in that right direction, where it's like if they can just they don't need to shoot 38% every time they take the floor, but if they can knock down shots like that, yeah, they're going to be very, very tough to beat. And I think like that's the encouraging thing if you're a Bama fan, is you're just like, all right, yeah, it would be nice if we had a plan B. It'd be nice if we could win 65-59, and in a game where we went 2 for 14. They're never going to go 2 for 14. They're never just going to shoot 14. In a game where they went 6 for 25 from 3 or something, we would like to win those games. But also, what if we just made every shot? What if we
not a bad game?
What if we were just unstoppable? What if Grant Nelson? Is Grant Nelson? Here's a question for the room, because I kind of know what my answer is, but I want to hear your thoughts, Tate. You've seen Grant Nelson play basketball, I assume.
Of course,
the white man on the
big white dude,
the tall white dude on Alabama. Is he clumsy? Is he a clumsy fella? Or is he like? He's got such goofy energy, man.
Yeah, when you're 6'11" and a white dude, I think you're just naturally goofy.
He's so good at times, but then like this was. The microcosm of the Alabama week it was the Grant Nelson week. It was like Bama had the ups and the downs, or I guess it was downs and up. But it was really just Grant Nelson. It was Grant Nelson against Ole Miss, was throwing the ball all over the gym. Looked like he had never dribbled a basketball before, never passed a basketball before. It looked like Nate Oates was walking on campus, saw like a 6'9", 6'10" guy, and was like, "Hey, you should be playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you? We got a big game coming up. You should join us." And that was the first time he ever touched the ball. And then on Saturday, he was awesome, but it was also like he's got such like chaotic, goofy energy. He airballs like the first shot, I think, of the game, and then he just goes nuts right after that. He had a stretch where he scored like 8 straight, I think, for Bama, hits 2 threes and gets to the bucket.
His stat line on Tuesday,
he's so funny
terrible
to watch.
He had 5 turnovers, 4 fouls, and shot 40% from the free throw line on Tuesday, and then comes out on Saturday.
He's awful.
Best player.
But then even when he's playing well, he's just got like chaotic, goofy energy. It's I don't know how I would feel about Nelson if I was a Bama fan, because I would just be clenching my butthole at all times watching him. But also, you look up and you're like, yeah, dude, he had 25 points on the road in Rupp Arena. Massive game, massive win for Bama. He's obviously awesome, but then some part of it makes it frustrating that he just doesn't. I don't expect you to score 25 a night, but. It's you want to be excited about his performance Saturday, but then you're also like, why can't you just do this all the time? I don't understand. Why is it that like one every 3 or 4 games you look like, you look like your shoes are tied together or something?
Are you upgrading this to win of the year so far? We had in the SEC.
In the SEC,
going on
win of the year in the SEC. All right, what do we got?
We had.
I think
on the road, because remember we had the Florida-Kentucky game was Kentucky won, but it was at home, and at the time we were like, that's huge, but you got.
I think it still has to be Ole Miss at Bama. It was because that was just so unexpected and came out of nowhere, and suddenly I think that announces Ole Miss's arrival in the SEC race, and there's still a lot of ball left, and I do expect Ole Miss to kind of take a step back, but like to me that was like, yeah, Ole Miss is for real.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'm not really that shocked that Bama beat Kentucky. And
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good point.
Like, if you would have told me on Friday Bama's going to win this game Saturday, I'd be like, yeah, I mean.
I agree with that.
I kind of would understand how they would.
Yeah, I don't want to say that it's win of the year in that aspect because it wasn't like a jaw-dropping, like, oh, yeah, Alabama went and won a game on the road. But the idea that you're going to have to win games on the road to win this conference.
Right.
And they just went to Rupp Arena and won a game. That keeps them, after losing on Tuesday to Ole Miss, square in the midst of the SEC race.
So if you frame it as like there are X number of contenders and the true path to the title is going to another contender's home court and winning, that's a massive win. But then the argument would be that that's what Ole Miss did to Bama before, you know. So like Bama just kind of undid that. But yeah, obviously, if you're looking at Bama and Kentucky, like getting a win on Kentucky's home floor, huge. They also have a win over North Carolina on North Carolina's home floor, which Carolina sucks and the wheels are falling off. And maybe we'll talk about that later. Probably not, which is crazy how far Carolina's fallen. That like Hubert Davis might be on the hot seat, and part of me is just like, I don't know, man. That's like, you know, if we have time at the end of the show, maybe I'll address it.
I mean, I know there's so many things going on, but losing to Stanford at home is crazy.
But I'm saying Bama this season has wins at Kentucky and Carolina. I understand the context that neither one of those programs, like Kentucky's having a really good year. This isn't, you know, one of the great all-time Kentucky teams, and certainly Carolina, you know, isn't an all-time team either. But to go on the road and win in those two arenas, on top of that, have wins over Illinois and Houston on a neutral floor. They beat Creighton, who's suddenly good out of nowhere.
It's a pretty good resume.
They have a great resume. Bama is in the mix for a 1 seed. A lot of basketball left, though. A lot of SEC. I think so I said at the top, there's so much chaos, so much unknown. And, you know, we have reached a point in the season now that conference play is getting rolling and teams are familiar with one another. And, you know, this sort of thing does tend to happen from you know, year to year is you think you kind of have an idea after non-conference play, and then conference play hits, and suddenly it's, you know, a little chaotic. And Iowa State's losing at West Virginia, and I don't think anybody really saw that coming, but maybe you should see these blips coming. Anyway, given that is the state of college basketball, here's what I think I know for sure. I think the SEC is getting at least 2 1 seeds.
Okay.
And I think right now, I think there's a world where they could get 3. Depending on
tell me about that world. So Auburn.
Okay, it depends on what happens in the Big 12. So Iowa State losing at West Virginia, I think helps because if Iowa State and Houston almost lost, by the way. Houston was we talked about all those upsets. Houston had needed a last-second layup to beat UCF. If Iowa State and Houston or whoever ends up winning the Big 12, Arizona, by the way, was in the mix to win they were undefeated in conference play, just lost by like 16 or something at Texas Tech. If the Big 12, the team that emerges out of the Big 12 has a couple stinker losses, which no disrespect to West Virginia, but I'm you know, you're splitting hairs here at the very top, and you have to like poke holes in resumes. Like a loss to West Virginia in terms of the 1 seed standing is more damning than any of Duke's losses or Auburn's loss. You know what I mean? So if you're looking at it in that regard, I think that if the Big 12 champion, the team that like emerges out of the Big 12 pack, has a couple, you know, stinker you're losing unranked teams along the way. And then maybe the Big 12, the top of the Big 12 bumps down to the 2 seed, and you get like the Tennessee, the Alabama, the Auburn in there with Duke. That's the move.
Especially if it's a Houston, because if you remember early in the season, Houston lost to both Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah.
So if they have like some sort of stinker losses along the way, but they're the one who emerges,
right? I'm
sitting there being like, okay, they have these bad losses, and when they went up against us, we beat them.
Right. Yeah, Bama and Auburn sort of do have a tiebreaker. Now Houston is rolling right now, 6-0. They've won 10 in a row. They're 6-0 in the conference. They've won 10 in a row. But they did, like I said, they just needed a last-second shot to beat UCF. Mm-hmm. They did lose to San Diego State, which San Diego State, not a bad team. But you know, like I keep saying, like given the context of a 1 seed, that's going to be a worse loss than maybe some of the others have. Mm-hmm. So that's going to become interesting if Houston. You know, they play at Kansas. Which coming up. They
go to Arizona,
Texas Tech. They play like Houston loses to Baylor at home. They lose to say Yeah, I don't know. If Houston racks up like four more losses, I don't know. You understand?
could
Like
argue,
there's very much a world where Houston will stack up a few more losses, and suddenly, I think it could be Duke and 3 SEC teams. But the SEC is definitely getting at least 2.
It has to be like if there were odds on what it is right now, the very, very, very likely situation is Duke, 2 from the SEC, and then whoever emerges.
And then a wild card. Yeah. Wild card, which for a second it could have been Marquette. I don't know about Marquette anymore. I don't know who else is in the. It's all the I don't know if Florida's still in the mix. Kentucky could still theoretically be in the mix, I guess, because Kentucky has a ton of massive wins, and yeah, they did just lose on their home floor, but they lost to Bama, and then you're like, well, Bama will now have the tiebreaker over Kentucky, but do they play again? Maybe they'll play again. Yeah, first of all they play again at the end of February. Maybe they play again in the SEC tournament. Who knows? But the SEC is positioned. They will 100% get 2 1 seeds. Like that is a
chalk it in.
Yeah, they will definitely get 2 1 seeds. And Duke, unless there's some act of God, Duke will get the last 1 seed or the third. You know what I'm saying? Duke they're 3 1 seeds accounted for. I believe there are 3 1 seeds accounted for right now. It's Duke and 2 SEC teams.
And
then a wild card.
I think I know your answer to this, but there has been a couple teams that have emerged out of the top of the Big Ten, and if that continues,
yeah, I was looking at Michigan State. And is Purdue.
Purdue has 1 loss in the Big Ten.
Is Purdue out of? Yeah, I mean the Penn State loss is a stinker. They got blown out by Auburn.
But Michigan does not have it. Or I'm sorry, Michigan State does not have it. Kansas on a neutral and Memphis in Maui is not the end of the world.
Right.
They've won, I think, the most games in the country in a row, or if not top 2.
Yeah, I think they're second behind Duke. Play. Yeah, they won 11 in a row, undefeated in conference play. Yeah, I mean Michigan State could. There's a world where they could. Yes, there's a world where I think they could get a 1 seed. I think you don't have to run the table, but I do think you kind of have to have a near historic Big Ten type season where, in a 20 game season they go 18-2 or something in the Big Ten.
Their schedule's not the toughest thing remaining.
Yeah,
they've got a couple tough.
But that's the problem. Then I think that would be used against them. That their schedule's not the toughest, and they lost.
What do you think they'll be today?
Like because their best win was Sunday against Illinois.
Right,
that's the best team that they've beaten, and boy, that was. I'm not a blame the refs guy, but I am. I'm not a blame the refs guy, but
technicals didn't.
If Illinois fans want to bitch about that, and if I was an Illinois fan, I think it's fair for Illinois fans to bitch about the refs. I'll put it that way. I'm not
but
saying
you're not a bitch about the refs guy.
I'm not a bitch about the refs guy, but if they want to be, I'm not gonna judge them for it. I'll put it that way. Also, did you see the end of the game? No. Kylan Boswell. Illinois misses a free throw because they're down 3 with 5 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
So the very end of the game, first of all, was Brad Underwood gets a technical foul, and Michigan State hits 2 free throws, and that kind of ended up being the difference. Kylan Boswell gets fouled with less than 5 seconds because Michigan State's up 3, they foul up 3. They do that deal. Which put a pin in that. I want to talk about that because I'm kind of over that shit.
You're over.
I'm over that shit, and I want to talk about that. Boswell makes the first to cut the lead to 2, then misses the second on purpose because they're trying to get the rebound and lay it in to send it to overtime. Right? He gets his own as the ball gets batted around, he picks up the ball by the baseline and he's behind the basket, does the Larry Bird shot, shoots it over the basket, hits front rim, almost goes in. Immediately they blow the whistle. They're like, no, you can't go over, which I knew to be a rule, but it took this instance for me to be like, why is that a rule? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, what advantage?
It makes no sense that you can't. If the ball doesn't touch anything. So say Kylan Boswell was saving the ball. What if the ball was bouncing out of bounds by the basket and he throws it over the basket back in? Is that also not allowed?
What? Here's my question.
I don't get, if the ball's not touching anything, why would that be allowed?
Right, because a lot of times these types of rules, like, it's because something gave you an advantage, and they take away that advantage. What advantage do you have of being behind the hoop and throwing it over?
Yeah, that doesn't give the offense an advantage at all. If you would ask Michigan State, like, this guy's gonna the game time shot's gonna happen from behind the backboard, they'd be like, yeah, we'll take that.
And also that's just a cool clip. So
no, if that I wish that would have gone in.
That might have,
because I think it would have changed it immediately. I think by nightfall we would have had that rule off the books. That would have been the Dan Lanning Oregon shit. Didn't they do that? Didn't Ohio State Oregon?
Well, I don't want to get too into it. Did you see Chip Kelly took a shot at him the other day? Chip Kelly
really?
said, yeah, when you need 12 to beat us. When you play 11 on 11, you see what happens. But yeah, they changed the rule the week after.
Immediately after that game, they're like, all right, we gotta patch that up. I feel like that would have happened if Boswell hits that shot and sends it to overtime. The refs wave it off. I think they would have been like, why did we? That would have been the coolest fucking moment of the season. Anyway, Jakaciunas in that game played 9 minutes and fouled out. Was in foul trouble hell. And yeah, I mean, I'm not. Again, if there's a world where I can. Is there a middle ground? Can I sit in the middle, Tate, where I say, congrats to Michigan State, you deserve the win. You are a very good team. This is turning into a fun Michigan State team to watch. By the way, I really
and you were kind of out on them at the beginning.
I was out on at the beginning. I still think that like, you know, there's not a ton of individual. Like I don't think you're going to be hearing a lot of Spartan names being called on draft night or
Correct.
You know, whatever. But that doesn't matter, and that's never really mattered that much in college basketball. Except for I do think that's going to limit their seal. Like I think that for that extra gear, that push to the national championship, like they're going to run up against a team that's loaded with talent, and they're going to be like, all right, we're a little fucked here. Mm-hmm. But they are so fun to watch. They play so well together. They are legitimately great defensively. And Izzo's doing a great job coaching. And I say that as a guy that, like, I was worried when the Imani Bates thing went down a few years ago and Izzo lost out on Imani Bates, who was the greatest recruit we've ever seen in the history of basketball, was how he was billed. And he committed to Michigan State as like a toddler and then decommitted. I was like, I think that's going to kill Tom Izzo. I remember my immediate reaction was like, that might be Tom Izzo's going to have like his Tony Bennett, Jay Wright moment where he's like, I'm fucking done with this shit, dude. I want out. And then I've been worried about Izzo for the last few years, and I got to say he might have his fastball back with this team.
And he also dodged a bullet with Imani Bates.
Oh my God,
perhaps
ever, yeah. But this has been an incredible coaching performance from Izzo this year. So I respect to Michigan State. You're rolling in the Big Ten. You're in the driver's seat in the Big Ten. You know, I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion you're going to win it, but boy, they're playing really, really well right now. But at the same time, Illinois fans, I see your complaints. I see your complaints, Illinois fans, and I feel like if I was an Illinois fan, there'd be a part of me that I wouldn't get too hung up on this game. I would be encouraged moving forward. I'd be like, yeah, I do think we're the best team in the Big Ten still,
which is fair. My question to you is, as someone that played in the Big Ten as well, don't you think that going to the Breslin Center and playing against Michigan State with Tom Izzo as the coach, like, you're gonna get bullied because of how they play, and you're also gonna be upset with the foul situation. I feel like that is part of.
They gotta
basketball.
Illinois does have to figure out when Jakaciunas is out. They're a little too reliant on him, and that's not really. I don't know. That's a tough criticism because, like, what team in the country isn't relying? Like, you could say Duke's relying on Cooper Fleck. You know, like every team, when you have a player that good, he might be. Jakaciunas could be a first-team All-American by the time it's all said and done. Yeah, of course they're relying on him. But yeah, when he's in foul trouble and you're on the road against a team that's probably going to be a top 10 team when the poll comes out today.
They were 12 last week, and I think that the world is now.
They're undefeated in Big Ten play, and given all the context, and you were right there, you were one Boswell shot and a rule change away from sending it to overtime. I don't think if you're an Illinois fan, you could be like that discouraged, and I think you have a great team in there somewhere, and I stand by what I keep saying about Illinois. I think they have the highest ceiling in the Big Ten. But at the same time, I would like to see them have a little more. I don't like, just play better when Jakaciunas. Like I don't think I'd be less reliant on Jakaciunas, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't know. I'm talking myself out of that complaint now. I'm talking myself out of it. I don't know. Boswell's fine, and they're fine, and if Underwood, I don't even know if it was Underwood. We all just assume it was Underwood because Underwood is notorious for stomping his feet and pooping his diaper on the bench. So I assumed it was him, but it might have been one of the assistants. They were saying it was one of the assistants that got the tech. If he doesn't get the tech, maybe they win that game. I don't know. It was a very thin margin game, and Jakaciunas played 9 minutes. So I don't know. Maybe Illinois is fine without him. And Boswell, I do like him a lot. But yeah, they're obviously a completely different team when their best player can play more than 9 minutes. That's a crazy take to have. But yeah, Illinois suddenly has 3 losses in the Big Ten.
Does that knock them out? Three's a lot to have early, though, Tom.
It's a lot to have early. I don't think it's an insurmountable. What they do have working in their favor is the schedule. The back half of the schedule is loaded for them, which, on the one hand, you could argue that stinks because they're probably going to lose some of these games and add a few more to their tally. But they're playing the team like when the end of the season rolls around or a month from now, they get Michigan State again on their home court. If it comes down to, say, Michigan State's lost a few and suddenly you look up and it's like it's Michigan, it's Illinois, and it's Purdue at the top. Well, guess what? Illinois closes the season with Michigan and Purdue.
That's true.
At the end of the year. So they kind of control their own destiny in that regard. But yeah, 3 losses early.
3 losses, and 2 of them are to USC and Northwestern.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. But get Yakuchunas back. Focus on the bigger picture. They've won the Big Ten recently. Illinois has. They need the NCAA tournament success. They had it last year, and then that was the big breakthrough last year for them was getting all the way to the Elite Eight, and it's the first time since 2005 that they had that was the first Sweet 16 they had made since 2005, right? I think that's correct, right? Because we talked about that on the show. They hadn't even made a Sweet 16 since 2005, and they make the Elite Eight last year.
Well,
and then it immediately comes.
I was going to say you can't hang your hat on success.
I know, but that's why that was like a get over the hump moment, and then once they got over the hump, they were like, well, fuck me, I don't like what's on the other side of this hump. We should have stayed back on the other side of the hump. So I think they're a program that has their eye on the bigger prize. I'll put it that way. So I think maybe they kind of have bowed out of the Big Ten race, but I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world because I stand by believing that they
still have the highest
they
ceiling?
are the team that has the highest ceiling. And if you told me a team, if you woke me up from a coma and you're like, Titus, the Big Ten did it. We finally broke the curse and won a national championship, I would say, how many did Yakuchunas have in the title game? That would be my first question. I would just assume it was Illinois. So, NFL playoffs. We're talking about NFL playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the NFL playoffs. And the key to you scoring big is betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here's another reason to watch your favorite players crush it in the playoffs. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big during the NFL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. That's code Titus for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Anyway, I said I wanted to talk about this, and I don't need to make it a long rant, but I do want to address it. The end of games in college basketball, and the NBA it's bad too, but college basketball it's especially bad. We got to do something. We got to fix something with the reviews. Every time a whistle is blown, they immediately go to the monitor. It's not just this year. This has been going on for years, but it's just reaching a breaking point where they're going to the monitor way too much. And I actually think what's contributing to the just atrocious. You're taking a sport that is by nature fast-paced, dynamic, exciting. Anything can happen. Back and forth, like you think of that Bama-Kentucky game we saw, and that's basketball at its best, and up and down, and athletes making plays, and you take that, and you watch that for 38 minutes, and then when we get to the final 2 minutes, or 39 minutes, 39 and a half minutes, and when everyone's got their butthole clenched, and they're just like, oh my God, this is why we love basketball, because anything could happen in these final moments, it just becomes an absolute slog of whistles and parades to the monitor, and it's just a disjointed mess. And the last 2 minutes of every college basketball game seemingly take 30 minutes. I don't know the last time I watched a college basketball game that took 2 hours. That used to be the standard. It used to be the networks that were blocking out their schedules would be like, all right, we're going to have a game tip off at 7 p.m., we're going to have a game tip off at 9 p.m., and maybe we'll have like a Gonzaga or a West Coast game tip off at 11 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to do it in these 2-hour blocks because guess what? The 7 p.m. game will probably end at like 8:58. And then we'll just roll it on over into the 9. That 7 p.m. game is ending at 9:27.
Well, it's the last 2 minutes, though, that's adding to it.
It's taking forever. And then they throw up the graphic that's like, hey, if you wanted to watch that game that's on at 9 p.m.
That's the worst.
You know that game that's on at 9 p.m. that we specifically put on at 9 p.m. because it's the best game of the night? because the 7 p.m. was supposed to be the JV game that like leads into the prime time, big time game. Yeah, we're not going to be able to throw to that because the 7 p.m. game is there's still 20 seconds left in the game, and it's a 3-point game. So these next 20 seconds are going to take 25 minutes. And but if you want to log on to ESPN Plus / these games take way too fucking long.com / .gov. I think that's the URL. You can watch that primetime game that's, and then obviously I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep watching the game that's like hanging in the balance, and then that game ends. We flip over to the next one, and it's fucking 21-17, and there's 8 minutes left in the first half.
I can already tell you, first of all,
I get so mad.
The rant is valid, but your example is coming up right this week on Saturday night, 5:30 p.m. Houston, Kansas. Big game, right?
Big game.
Houston goes to
Massive
Kansas.
game.
Within 2 hours on the same TV network, ESPN, Tennessee goes to Auburn at 7:30. And that game will be started on ESPN Plus or ESPN News.
I won't be able to see the first 15 minutes of that game because the other game. And what's bringing on this rant is I think – so everyone's talking about the reviews. I'm not the first person to point that out. And the reviews are atrocious. I mean, it really is just the review part of it. It's like the second the whistle blows, we go check out the reviews. But I think I'm very much a foul up 3 guy. I think if I'm a head basketball coach and I'm up by 3 points and there's less than 10 seconds, I'm telling my team to foul. That is you have not only do I think that I
obligation.
You have to. Yeah, it's malpractice to not do that, right? But I hate that rule so much. I hate that. I hate that part of the game. I hate that is a get out of jail free card. I hate that. I hate intentional fouling in general. I think if you're down and you want the ball back, you should steal it or force a shot clock violation. Like I think if there should be some sort of way. If you put me in charge of basketball, I would make late game fouling like 2 shots. You get either 2 shots of the ball or you get like 1 shot plus the ball back. You get. I don't know if there's like a foul. I don't know what the rule is. I don't know. I don't have the solution yet, Tate. I'm just saying I would make it a priority this offseason to sit down and be like, we have to figure this shit out because you can't be a team that's like, if you're down 6 with 2 minutes left, I get it. Like you want to foul, get the ball back, and like create. That's the game, dude. You had the whole game to not be down 6. Like we gotta readjust that. And I think there are people that are gonna push back and be like, I don't know, man. That creates great moments because then teams go to the free throw line and miss, and then that's a way to dig yourself out of the hole. But I don't want to see a parade to the free throw line. Nobody fucking wants to see a parade to the free throw. Nobody's going into a big basketball game and saying, oh my god, we got who's playing this week in Tennessee, Auburn, Kansas, Houston. Oh, dude, I hope it comes down to a fucking parade to the free throw line. If we can get 5 reviews in the final minute, and then if we can see can we see 10 free throws in the final 2 minutes? That would be awesome. Nobody wants to see that shit. We want to see the last second. We want to see the best last second shots that happen are the ones where the team scores to tie the game, and there's 3 seconds left. The other team doesn't even call timeout. They just throw it in, running down the floor, and it's chaos, and he throws it up, and it goes in. You're like, oh my god, I thought they tied it, but they didn't. They won the game. And instead, it's like. Nothing but timeouts and fucking reviews and the free throws. It drives me nuts.
And the foul up 3 robs us of the game tying 3. Mm-hmm. Since that has become a thing, games now go from all right, they gotta have their best set here. Or are they gonna not call a timeout and bring it down the court and try and get one in live transition? And now it's okay, timeout. Okay, we're gonna foul here. Okay, they get it to half court, foul, free throw, timeout. Free throw.
Review. Did we get the foul right? Who was that out on?
Offensive rebound here.
It's crazy. And the Illinois-Michigan State game would have worked both ways because Illinois fouled because they're down, and then Michigan State makes the free throws, and then they foul. And I'm like, what if there was a world where it was just like, let's just play straight up, and if time runs out. I don't know. Like that's the basketball world I want to live in. Is there's a minute left, or there's the shot clock's off. You're down 3. You have to get a steal. That's the only way you get the ball back. You have to force a turnover, Like that's and you have to just play chaotic. Like I hate that you can just go up and just fucking foul a guy.
Yeah.
And then now what should be the most exciting part of basketball is just we're shooting free throws and reviewing, and I don't know. The Illinois Michigan State game wasn't that bad, but I'm just using it as a.
When you go on these rants, Tice, you're always correct. That is a good point.
I don't want you to take this as an Illinois Michigan State game rant. This is a state of college basketball rant that was brought on by a situation where I was like, why do we put up with this shit? Why is this how the games?
I just don't know the answer. Like if you take away the foul up 3, which I think makes the game 10 times more interesting. But you have to be able to foul at the very end of a game to like kill the clock, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know
I don't know.
what I mean?
I don't know
That's
what
where
the
it's
solution
like-
is. I'm not saying
Because you can't take away the intentional foul.
there's got to be a better way. Is all I'm saying. What if when you're fouled, if you have the ball and you get fouled with less than 2 minutes in a game, you can decide whether you shoot free throws or just take the ball out.
So like a decline.
Yeah,
We
just
decline the penalty.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to shoot the free throws. We want to take the ball back out and reset the shot clock.
That actually.
And we don't want the free throws. We're gonna just take it out.
Why is that a bad rule? I'm trying to think of a reason.
I don't know, man.
Let him decline the
I'm
penalty.
not necessarily a solutions guy. I'm a throw ideas out there guy and let someone else figure it out. You know, that's the role of the podcast.
Would you? I have a question for you. Remember the national championship where they zoomed in at the very, very end and they caught the ball was going.
Yeah.
Oh, it actually went off his finger
Yeah.
that way. Are you okay with giving that type of reversal up? Like you might get some calls wrong, but we
Yes.
are no longer going to the monitor.
I am also pro in really all sports. I'm a proponent for you see every angle available to you one time in real time. And that's it. And if you can't overturn it, just go with what was. And it should every review should take 20 seconds at most. It should be just like the reviews in sports should be that guy that was running down the side, like the ref was running with the guy running down the sideline. The ref was like getting tripped up because like there was some support staffer was like by the so he turns his head, and as he turned his head, the guy stepped 1.5 feet out of bounds. The ref completely missed it. So you just like the other team, the other team challenges it. The refs go, they're like, oh yeah, we fucked that up, and then it's the review should be for those instances.
I
not
totally agree. And I would. People will call bullshit on this. I'm just telling you how I feel. I would be willing to live it as well. Like I hate when they zoom in on the team and it's like, did he get to that yard line? His knees down. Where's the ball?
Where's the
Zoom
ball?
in, go the other.
Yeah.
I would rather them get it wrong and screw my team over.
Right.
To keep the pace of play going. And I also think that adds an element to the game. Fouls by referees or, who was it out on or whatever. Okay, we're going that way.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I honestly think if you did it that way, and then I do think at some point sports we're gonna have to figure out a way to hear from the refs. I do think that's gonna have to be like that. Just
Press
feels.
conference?
I do feel like at some point like if the refs face the music, and we got and on the regular you were just seeing refs just be like, yeah, man. I'm like now that I look at it and we break it down like frame by frame, I do think that I the guy was probably out of bounds. That one's on me. But you got to call it like you see it on the field. I don't know if that would help or not. But I think if you get used to that and that was like the norm, I do think people would chill out a little bit. And you just be like, because that's kind of that's what the athletes do is like, yeah, man, I like Lamar Jackson throws that interception last night. He's like, that was a bad throw. I knew the coverage. Like I fucked that one up. And if the refs like were just held accountable, like sometimes, like what do you say to a guy who fucks up, but he's like, I fucked up.
Right. You can't.
Kind of like that's all I.
The ref,
I guess
the girl
that's all
did that the other day when she gave a technical foul. She's like, hey, I fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, what are you going to say?
Yeah, but right now the refs don't say anything. They go frame by frame by frame by frame, so they're seeing every single angle that we're seeing. So like when you allow them that much time and that many angles, and you can break it down like that, then they have all the information available to them to where as a fan you feel like there's no excuses to get this wrong. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we had a system where it was like, let's just keep the thing going, and they're like, I made the call I thought was the right call in the moment. I did the best I could. I don't know what else to. I don't know, but there are probably people out there like, no, man, that's how refs rig games. Maybe there's no solution. But back to the college basketball thing. Maybe take the ball out or take the free throws. I don't know. I'm gonna think on that one. But something needs to be done because it's really really bad, and it's not just those of us that like watch college basketball all the time that think it's bad. Like the casual fans that are tuning in, they hate it. Like it's hard to like retain fan interest.
Well, no one likes it. That's the thing. Like you can't find one person who at the end of the game is like, this is actually
good for the sport. Yeah. And then like
Let's go to the monitor.
Every time you go to the monitor, you're giving the other team free timeouts. So really, like I don't have coaches figured that out that like second half you have unlimited second half timeouts if it's a close game. So, like, the idea of, like, saving your timeouts for late in the game, you don't need to, really. I guess you need one if there's, like, a scramble and you need your guy to dive on the ball and call timeout real quick. But otherwise, like, if there's less than a minute left in a tie game and you're out of timeouts, I don't think you need to like really
you just
worry.
have to go like this.
Yeah, all you have to do is go like this.
I've
free
thought that-
timeout and draw up a play.
I'm glad you said, because the two things that I hate about it that I didn't think people were realizing. One is the fatigue factor of how, like, at the end of the game, your coach is supposed to have you ready. You know, your legs are ready. You guys can finish the game strong. It goes from play to choppy, and you get everything back. The second one is how many end of game timeouts happen that allow you to draw up your play or do what you need to do or set the defense on a non-timeout situation.
Right.
Ball goes out of bounds. You can go like this, and then all of a sudden you set your defense.
Here's an idea for you. What if during reviews because in the second half well, it doesn't matter. Okay, that part. Okay, let me think this through. During reviews, the team, you have to stand on the opposite side of half court from your bench. The players on the floor cannot cross half court. So the refs go to the monitor.
It's like a technical foul.
The refs go to the monitor. So your coach can still say stuff to you, but then now the other team can hear it.
They have to scream it.
Yeah, they kind of have to scream it.
Okay.
So the coach can like walk out to like kind of close to half court, but your team has to stay on the half. So there's like cross talking going on. So like both teams are in each other's huddle. If you want to huddle up, there's going to be
or
so that way you can't do a time. You wouldn't be able to draw up a play.
What about this one? You get to send one spy over.
One
to
spy.
the other side.
I like that.
So yeah, you can go to your bench, but we get to send our spy.
We send a spy. I like that.
Like send one assist back. And then you get 30 seconds to divulge your information.
I like that. Or there's like the mop boy underneath the basket. He has a carton of noise canceling headphones, and when it's a review, he just passes them out to the players, and they have to wear them. All the players. Every player has to put on noise canceling headphones. I don't know. We're ideas guys. That's the thing. Like we're not. I'm just throwing shit out there. I know a lot of people at the NCAA watch the show. You guys take. This is all free. You take it. You make it what you need it to be. I'll just keep throwing it out.
It's like how, so, in the TBT tournament, they have the Elam ending. It's like, hey, we're going to roll this out and maybe people will start adopting this. I feel like you need to, when you take over Maui as the ambassador, like implement the spy system.
Spies.
Like, hey, and then we'll show you for a weekend what it's like with spies.
Yeah. And
then you can determine if you want spies.
Yeah. It's a good idea, Tate. It's a good idea. Here's something I want to talk about, and it pains me to talk about it, but I can't ignore it. Kam Jones, who I still think is an All-American. I still think his numbers are outrageous, and Marquette is a very good basketball team. Just lost at home to Xavier, though, and kind of a stinker of a game. And that coming on the heels of the narrow win over DePaul that DePaul kind of handed to Marquette. Marquette's obviously not playing great basketball right now. Kam Jones still putting up numbers. He still looks the part. He's still you take his highlights from any given game, and you're like, yeah, that dude is one of them ones, as they say. You like that, Cody?
Yeah, that was good.
You like that? All right. No, that's good.
Them ones.
No, cool. I don't know.
That was sick, dude.
It's hard to get Cody to like. Yeah, that was nice. But I think he might have a shooting problem, Tate. And I don't know if he's injured. That's where my mind goes. If it's a player I like, like he must be injured. But he is. It's been going on for a while now. Mm-hmm. And he was 1 for 10 from 3 against DePaul on Tuesday. He was 1 for 6 from 3 against Xavier. He is now shooting, what is he on the year? Like 30% from 3? He's 30.9% from 3. This after shooting 41% last year. And I know his role has changed. Tyler Kolek left, and now he's become like the guy. He's the guy that they put the ball in his hands, ask him to make all the plays. He's taking some shots maybe that aren't the best shots in the world, but you're the best player and you're the All-American. Like, so you're gonna take some dumber shots. But he can't shoot threes right now. And if you take that part of his game away, Marquette as a whole is a lot easier to guard, and I'm officially worried about the Kam Jones shooting right now. I'm officially worried about it.
This game log, if you took the name off it and who they were playing, is a R.J. Davis, Caleb Love.
Yeah.
Kam.
The Kam Jones game log. Yeah, it's
a bad game log.
It's a bad game log. Yeah. You 2 for 5. Like, when's the last time? He was 1 for 7 against Butler, and I'm trying to figure out where it started. Has it just been all year and I didn't realize it? But coming out of the
no, his first 4 games here is 4 for 6, 3 of 7, 2 of 5, 3 of 5. He was shooting 50% through the first.
He was 0 for 3 from 3 against Purdue, but maybe I just didn't notice or care because he had a triple-double. But yeah, remember like early in the season, I was like, this dude is the way I was framing the National Player of the Year race was I think Janai Broom has been the best player, or Janai Broom has been the most productive player. This was like early in the season. I'm saying this was like in December. I was saying this stuff. Janai Broom has been the most productive player. Cooper Flagg is the best player. Mm-hmm. Kam Jones has the most aura. Kam Jones is the guy that if I was 12 years old, I'd be outside my backyard trying to be Kam Jones. And all that conversation was because he's the numbers he was putting up, but like how he was doing it and how he was like just running the offense, and he's completely unguardable. And if you throw a double at him, he's going to find the open man and get an assist. And all the Marquette guys were playing so well off of him. I don't know. I was like, this is going to be an all-time season from Kam Jones. He's still putting up insane numbers, but he cannot shoot the basketball from three. And it's becoming a problem because he's going to continue to shoot threes. It'd be one thing if it was like, I just don't have that in my bag right now, so I'm going to find other ways to impact the game. But he's 2 for his last 16 from three-point line.
That's bad for someone that shoots at a volume he does.
That's bad. So I'm officially worried about that. I'm also worried about Tennessee playing without Zakai Ziegler, who is not hurt. He's fine. But when they have to – he got in foul trouble at Vanderbilt. And, maybe this is the same sort of thing I was saying about Illinois, where it's like, yeah, if how many teams could survive without their heart and soul of their team? Mm-hmm. But Tennessee's offense can just completely fall apart when Zakai Ziegler's out. They have, like, I think Jordan Gainey's supposed to be the backup point guard. I don't really think he wants to play point guard. I think he wants to just shoot threes. I think he's just like, I'm a shooting guard. Why are you asking me to run the offense here? I don't know. It gets very, very clunky. And every time Zakai Ziegler is not on the floor, Tennessee reverts back to like the worst case version of Tennessee, which is like, still not bad. They can guard and they can muck it up, but the offense looks clunky as fuck. And when he is on the floor, it's like there's like still a 30% chance the offense is going to look clunky as fuck. So I'm worried about Tennessee in that regard. Did a hell of a job to claw back against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not bad, man. They're fun. They play with a lot of energy. There is something to, like, year one over exceeding expectations and getting the fan base riled up, and you got the in-state rival coming in, and that whole atmosphere was awesome. At least it felt that way on TV. So like I don't think there's a ton of shame in losing by 1 to Vandy and Memorial Gym Magic, as they call it, I guess. But it's Tennessee's kind of I'm the way I look at Tennessee is just like, do you feel different than the other Tennessee teams? And last year they did. Last year they felt different. Last year I was like, this is not a typical Rick Barnes team. And I think early in the season I had that feeling, and that feeling is slowly starting to slip away for me. And it's like, it's not the worst thing in the world because Rick Barnes has been very successful at Tennessee, and they have, they for a guy who can't win in the tournament, they've gone to a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in back-to-back years, and like are doing pretty fine. Mm-hmm. But the ultimate goal for Tennessee as a program at this point is to finally make a Final Four, and I'm starting to get worried about that.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like that. Coming up at the beginning of the year, it was like, okay, they're blowing teams out. They didn't really have a marquee win. They've lost 2 of their last 4. And Florida's not a bad loss away, but when you lose by 30, it becomes a bad loss.
Right.
And now what they have coming up is their next 4: Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, and Mississippi State. What do you think? What do you think? Would they sign up? They would sign up for 2-2 today.
I think they would, yeah. And they were number 1 in the country in 14-0, and a lot of what about us when you were saying Auburn and Duke were the 2 best teams. Mm-hmm. Tennessee was like, we're undefeated, number 1 in the country. What about us? And I don't think they're bad. I do think they could still get to a Final Four. But if the national championship picture is becoming hazy for me with Tennessee right now, unless they can figure some stuff out on offense, especially when Ziegler's out. Like, they're going to just need Ziegler to play 40 minutes and run point for them and do everything for them. Because when he's on the floor and playing well, but even that's the problem with Ziegler, is like, the guy's awesome and he's a great defender, can crawl up into your shit. That one wasn't too bad. He's a great on-ball defender. He's in full command of his of the offense. Love the guy as a point guard. He's 5'9". Right. He is 5'9", and they're, what happens when they do play a team that has just like a 6'4" point guard with long arms, and they're just like, no. Like I guess the example would be UConn last year. Where UConn just has so much length at guard, and they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna fucking not let you do anything out here. And that I think will happen on the road to the national championship at some point, and that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, they're not going to win a game if that happens to Ziegler.
Yeah,
So.
I don't think you can muck your way to a national championship. I don't think 6 straight muckings. Yeah, I don't think you can do 6 straight muckings. I don't know. I have to go back and look. Has any team ever mucked it up 6 times? So you're gonna need some offensive explosion, and I thought Lanier would be that guy. I don't know. Just a lot of uncertainty around Tennessee right now. What else? Did you see Chris Collins
chirping
Vlad Gold?
How do you say? But he said it was a compliment. That's the ultimate. Yeah. Everyone's up in arms right now.
Yeah.
You must have missed the end of the quote. He said he meant it as a compliment.
Meant as a compliment.
I'm fine with that.
Where are we? Where do we stand with Michigan? Michigan loses to Minnesota at Minnesota. They narrowly escaped Northwestern. It's not bad, but like Michigan looked like a juggernaut there for a second. Mm-hmm. I think Michigan's like they feel like a knuckleball pitcher almost, like where they got these 2 7-footers that play so well together, but every so often like you're gonna need your guards to carry you. Like I still think it's a guard oriented game, and I think Danny Wolf, as good as he can be, I don't think he's consistently awesome. I don't think it's like every single night he's gonna be as good as he is at his best, you know. But when you see Danny Wolf at his best, you're like, holy fucking shit, is this guy the best player in the country?
Yeah, I was high on them. They played back-to-back overtime games now. They lost one of them. They go to Purdue on Friday. I mean, right now, would you say, are they in the top 3 in the Big Ten? Michigan State, Purdue, Michigan, or Illinois? Like I could see a world where Michigan starts to lose some games.
I feel like it's Purdue, Illinois, and Michigan State, but yeah, you just never know. Like if they could figure it, I don't like their guards. I'll just say that. Like Burnett and Gale and Trey Donaldson they're all like okay players. Like Roddy Gale, we know well, played for Ohio State before transferring to Michigan. He's got all the talent in the world. He does not have the consistency, the mental makeup, we'll say, the ability to just bring it every night, and he doesn't have that dog in him. We'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. And Michigan, if Michigan is to go on a run to a Big Ten championship, to go on a Final Four type run, they're going to be carried by Golden and Danny Wolf. But Danny Wolf, I mean, yesterday against Northwestern, he had 4 points.
Yeah, you can't
he's
have
0 from the field.
You can't have bad guard play and then your big plays poorly.
He's 0 from the field. Like but then you catch him on the right night and you're like, this guy might be player of the year. This guy should be like a 7-footer that can put it on the floor and do all the stuff he can do. He might be the best player in the country. So I think that's where Michigan is at right now. Is they? That's the only analogy I can think of. Is like they're a knuckleball pitcher when the ball's knuckling. Boy,
tough to beat, right?
But they have like a wrinkle that no one else seems to really have, which is these 2 big guys that can play together. But then they're every so often it was not a great week for them. I know they salvaged it winning yesterday against Northwestern, but every so often that ball's not knuckling and you're just like fucking putting it on a tee for guys to just mash out of the park, and that seems to be where they're at right now. But I think Michigan's gonna have a lot of up and downs, and they'll probably fall back to like 4th in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I think. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. North Carolina's in trouble though. I do know that. North Carolina, I think Hubert is legit on the hot seat.
For the amount of discussion, did you see Mick Cronin's rant about going west to east, first going east to west?
I did, yeah.
I loved that. He has taken over for Hurley as my number 1 ranter right now.
Mick Cronin has done a hell of a job of making it to where I almost don't even want to watch UCLA play games. I just want to, like, if you tell me UCLA is going to tip off at 7 p.m. tonight, I'm going to turn on my TV at 9:30 so I can watch the press conference. Like the real show starts when the game ends. And win, lose, or otherwise, I just want to watch what Mick Cronin has to say. He's hilarious.
He is.
Like, I mean,
and he's short.
He is short. He's short. We gotta make sure we point that out. But he's on one, dude. I don't know why. I don't know where this is coming from. Does he want to be fired? Where he's just like, I'm gonna just complain about everything at all times. But I think he's kind of doing the Kerr Kriisa thing for me, where it's like he is so unabashedly, like, if any other coach was doing this, I would be like, shut the fuck up, dude. But he is so, like, this is just what I'm going to do the rest of the season. After every game,
He's
I'm
dug
say
his
something,
heels in for sure.
that it's like now become kind of funny to me. It's now like the first couple rants I was like, Mick, what are we doing, Mick? Shut up, just come on. And now I'm like, I hope this happens every game. I hope after every single game, Mick Cronin just has like something to rant about.
I really liked
this. Just goes on the rest of the season.
Like when you come east to west, you don't even have to leave your hotel. Oh, sorry, you have to come to 70 and sunny Los Angeles. I'm sorry about that. I've seen the Statue of Liberty twice. But my point is, the reason I bring it up is Stanford going to Chapel Hill and beating North Carolina. It ain't like, oh, they dropped a game that, they played Wake Forest or whatever. That's a game that North Carolina has to win.
Yeah.
When a team comes from fucking Stanford all the way to North Carolina.
Right.
You have to win those games, and Hubert Davis is just not right now.
Last second shot from the Duke transfer is tough. Tough. But Carolina just has like no heart, man. They're just like, I think that's what worries me. It feels like the players are kind of checked out. Like RJ Davis is like, what am I doing here? We talked about RJ Davis just looks like a guy that's like in a loveless marriage and ready to move on. I mean, they're
12-7. We talked about on the last show, like, what opportunities do they have left to get any sort of good win? Because right now, their best win is SMU and then Dayton back early because UCLA doesn't look very good anymore. So it didn't look like they had a great opportunity for a win. You can't lose to Stanford then. When you're looking for wins, you can't lose to Stanford at home.
No, they're.
Are they out? Titus, call them out.
SMU's they have to be out. North Carolina's out, dude. North Carolina's out.
If you're out,
get North Carolina out of my NCAA tournament.
If you're out, he's got to be out.
Yes. If they don't make the tournament,
out, he's out.
It's
a double out.
It's a double out. But their best one is SMU, who's not a bad team. They did handle them, beat them by 15. But every good team they play, they lose. They need a miracle to beat UCLA in Madison Square Garden. They need a miracle to beat Dayton, who's not even I don't want to shit on Dayton too much. Dukes is our guy.
Yeah, shout out Dukes.
But Dayton's not making the tournament. They've beaten maybe 2 NCAA tournament teams. Is that it? UCLA, like we've said before, like UCLA is falling fast, and SMU, like I don't know what SMU's NCAA tournament resume really is, to be honest with you. Like SMU, I think the metrics like them, but they're 14-4, but like they've lost to Duke. Like what's their best win? SMU has beaten nobody. SMU has not beaten
They have actually confirmed. They have actually beaten nobody.
They've beaten literally nobody. They're actually 0-4. They're not 14-4. They've beaten. So yeah, I think Carolina is very much on the bubble.
Does that make you happy at all?
What?
We talked before the show
for the Blue Bloods to suck.
Yeah, I think an interesting conversation we talked before the show is there's so many upsets right now that March is going to be crazy, which is going to be awesome. But don't you like going into it? Like, I want Duke and Auburn to continue to dominate.
Yeah.
Because I want there to be a reason why the upset in March is cool, is exciting. Carolina's a team where I want them to be good. So it is cool to beat Carolina.
Yeah, I've said that a handful of times through the years. Like, my ideal situation is the year I always go back to is 2015. There were 8 teams that were the 1s and 2 seeds that year were way better than everybody else. And you went into the tournament knowing it's going to be a 1 or a 2 seed that wins it this year. There was just a massive, massive gap. And I was like, there might be a lot of chaos, but there's going to be a 1 or a 2 seed. I think that's the ideal situation for me, is like 4 to 8 teams. There are 4 to 8 teams that are like juggernauts. I don't necessarily love the one juggernaut, but 2015 was incredible because Kentucky there were the 8 teams, but then there was also undefeated Kentucky. So they were a level above everybody else in terms of how we were viewing it. And I thought it was perfect because, like you said, you want to go into an NCAA tournament where you can't be surprised if there are no surprises to be had. So you want to go into an NCAA tournament thinking that teams are unbeatable,
right?
And it's, I want to believe going into this tournament that it's Auburn and Duke and then everybody else. So that way, if Auburn and Duke do get upset, you're like, holy shit, what a moment. If Auburn and Duke fall off, and Bama looks susceptible, and everybody has like very glaring weaknesses, and everybody's got like 6 or 7 losses going into the tournament, you're like, I don't know. I guess when the upsets happen, no part of you is like, how did that happen? I love being surprised, and I think the state of college basketball, yes, it is madness. Yes, parity is through the roof, but what you're giving up with that is the surprises then, because, like we said. But I got to be honest. I do think Duke is going to be that team though.
Head and shoulders above.
I don't know if Duke is is head and shoulders above the rest of the country. I think Duke is going into the tournament with very few losses and a lot of hype and
for the first time in forever, like very likable.
Very likable.
Like people like Duke. They're going to be picked in when you talk about like percentage of tournament brackets. Duke is going to be.
I don't know what the perception of Auburn will be. Auburn, I do think is they're the number one team in the country, and they're if we're doing the tiers, it's Duke and Auburn and everyone else, and I think they belong up there. And I'm not saying Duke is better than them, even though Duke did win. I'm saying the hype machine around them, because I think Auburn playing in the SEC, they're probably going to lose a few, and that'll take a little bit of the sting away, a little bit of the hype away. But Duke, I think Duke's in a position to just rip off wins, dude, and be on like an insane winning streak. And Cooper Flagg wins National Player of the Year, and you know what I mean. Like, so we're entering the tournament, and then all the casual fans, like Duke has the right name on the front of their jersey too to get people to rally behind them. Not even cheer for them, but just pay attention to them. So I think when the tournament rolls around, Duke will be that team that everybody's watching, and when they do lose, it will feel like a quote unquote moment. Mm-hmm. But I think that might be it. Even Auburn, because like if Auburn continues being as good as they are, and they're this good the whole season, and then say they lose in the Sweet 16, there is going to be a lot of like, that's just what Auburn's been doing as of late. Like last year they lost to Yale.
Yeah, Duke
why should we be surprised by this? Duke, if you have the Cooper Flagg Duke team, how many games in a row are they going to win?
They've won 12
if they run the table
and
from here.
Remember, they do have that game against Illinois.
That's right. They do have the Illinois
February
game.
But other than that, they could absolutely run the table in the ACC, and it wouldn't be like the most shocking thing.
If they're 28-3,
having won,
if they're
29 or 29-2, and they've won 24 straight games.
Whatever, and then they win I don't know, man. I think there's going to be a ton of hype around them, and they would certainly fit the bill of a team that's like the juggernaut or they're 5-1 team we're all looking to see.
They're the leader in the clubhouse. 5-1 is what you get them at on DraftKings.
It's Duke, it's Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Third is, can I guess?
Please.
Don't quit cutting me off. Quit cutting me off. Let me guess. Stop, Tate, please. Let me guess. Tate, give me a second. Don't rush me. Let me guess. Alabama.
It is not.
Whoa.
I'll give you another guess.
Okay. Give me another guess. Give me another guess. Don't rush me. Is it Tennessee?
They're higher than Alabama, but you're still missing them.
Who the fuck could it be?
They really like your Big 12 champ. Iowa State and Houston.
It's Iowa State.
Iowa
State still up there?
Yeah.
Houston still up there?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you wanted to do it on this show or when we get closer, but like with all of this parity, it seems like Duke and Auburn and then the rest. At what level now are you cutting off the can't win the tournament? Because right now there's not a team inside the top 30 in KenPom that if they went and beat number 5 that we would be jaw dropped at all.
Yeah, we have our tarred and feathered list, which is something different. I'm doing that's an algorithm.
Right.
This is just my brain. You're saying, what does my brain say is these teams can win the national championship? Let me look at it.
Can Marquette win a national championship?
I don't think so. I don't think they're deep enough, and I don't think. I think they're good. Marquette to me can beat anybody on any given night, but can't do it 6 straight times.
Can Gonzaga?
No.
Can Kansas?
Kansas.
So you're going to come down and say that only Duke and Auburn can win one?
No, Kansas. Get Gonzaga out of my foot, dude. Maybe get Gonzaga out of my tournament. Certainly get Gonzaga out of my fucking face.
They're playing bad ball.
Maybe get Gonzaga out of my tournament, dude. Gonzaga's best wins. Gonzaga's entire season. What's funny, Cody?
Don't forget the opening night.
I gotta.
Don't forget opening
night.
Get
Gonzaga out of my face. No, get him out of my tournament.
Maybe get him out of my tournament, but certainly get him the fuck out of my face.
Do you remember what they did to Baylor, though?
That's the only reason anybody thinks they're any good, dude.
What if they do that again?
Their only good win of the year, other than opening night against a Baylor team that's not even that good, by the way.
Yeah,
Baylor's not even.
We thought they were going.
We thought they might be good. That was in November. That was November 4th. Think about what the world looked like in November 4th, dude. Milk cost 94 cents a gallon. The number one movie was Ben-Hur.
But 101 to 63.
That's how long ago it was.
And we thought Baylor was good.
Without that, their best win of the season would be San Diego State at San Diego State. Good team, good win, hard place to win. Nobody goes to San Diego State and wins except for UNLV on Saturday. Except the UNLV, a bad UNLV team, just did it on Saturday. Just beat them. Just beat San Diego State.
And that was back in November as well.
And that was also back in November. And every other good team that Gonzaga's played, they've lost. And also, by the way, they've lost to two really bad teams this week.
Bad week. They had a bad week.
And somehow, I'm generally a Gonzaga guy, but I'm also, and you know this to be true, Tate, I'm a call it like I see it guy. So I am rooting for the idea of Gonzaga getting over the hump at some point and winning a national championship. But also, we're in the bubble wars, dude. If the Buckeyes, we're hunkering down. We're getting in the trenches. We're fighting the bubble fight.
Yeah, we are.
And part of the bubble fight is acknowledging other teams on the bubble. Get them the fuck out of here. And one of those teams is Gonzaga for me, and North Carolina. Get them and I don't want their fucking branding to push them through. It makes me sick.
Yeah, let the little guys.
It makes me sick when the blue bloods get preferential treatment.
Strip the names off the jersey,
and they just get thrown into tournaments or they just get opportunities because they're blue bloods. It drives me fucking crazy. So get them out of there. Put the Buckeyes in.
Yep, that's well.
Just like we do with the football tournament every year.
I didn't think of it that way, but now that you say like part of our job is to just trash the other bubble teams. Yeah, you got starting. It's 9:33 in the morning, guys. Starting now, you'll hear me have different opinions on.
Dude, just find the bubble teams and shit all over them. No, I'm hamming it up a little bit, but honestly, like Gonzaga, I mean, it is a thought exercise. I did it last year. With Gonzaga, and then Gonzaga kind of pulled it together, had a great end to the season, and beat St. Mary's and got hot and went to the Sweet 16 like they do every single year. And Gonzaga salvaged last year. This is a familiar position for me. I did the exact same thing with Gonzaga last year. But, if I have to call it like I see it, and you look at Gonzaga's season, and the only thing they can hang their hat on is things that happen in November where they beat two teams that aren't even really that good, to be honest with you.
No, that's true.
They're not even that marquee of wins. So, outside of that, they've lost to every good team they've played and just lost two absolute stinkers. They can't guard to save their life, Gonzaga. What else? Should we check in on Gottlieb? How's he doing? What's Gottlieb up to?
He had to delete a tweet the other day.
Let's do it. Let's do my favorite segment on this show right now. Let's check in on Gottlieb. 2-18. So this past week they lost to Robert Morris by 22, and then lost to Youngstown State by 4. 2 home losses. They're 2-18, and I'm thinking the Doug Gottlieb experiment might not be going so well.
Do you think
might not be going so well there?
I think this will be his last year.
I think so.
I think
Doug, yeah. Of doing the podcast or of coaching?
Well, I think that my favorite part might be that because Doug Gottlieb is not a humble. I don't think he's the most humble person in the world. Like I don't think he's going to be like, hey, I'm not a very good basketball coach. I think that he might come out and break some news that it is difficult to be a Division I head coach and a full-time radio host.
And he's going to say he doesn't regret it, but he would do some things differently. So I don't regret it. I think it is possible. It's just like I probably would have done some things. And also like we just don't have the NIL budget we need to compete right now. And it's just hard and I love my guys. I don't want to throw them under the bus. They're just not fucking good. They're not good. My players aren't good. They're not good at all. The fans too, like appreciate all the support, but also there's just kind of no support. And the fans,
it's on the fans.
I think we might get a lot of that, but 2-18, man. Is Dickie V back or not? I thought he's
calling a ball game.
No, I just saw the latest was that he had a fall, I think at home, and he's not.
Oh, it's delayed.
Yeah, dude. I'm sad about this.
Talk about a roller coaster.
Yeah, man. I want Dickie V back, but also
I will say this. You know how you always say that the Tom Izzo strategic injury that maybe Auburn
manufactured adversity.
Do you think
oh my God, I love where you're going with this.
To set up a North Carolina.
Oh my God, I love it.
Like if someone said, Dickie V, why are you wasting it on a Wake Forest Duke game?
This is Tom Izzo manufactured adversity from Dickie V. You don't want to peak too soon.
A structured fall.
A structured fall. And then he's gonna come back for Carolina. I want Dickie V back, but I also I want Dickie V to be happy. That's really what I want more than anything. I don't want Dickie V to feel like he has to come back, you know? But I don't know what's motivating it. I don't know if he's like, the sport needs me. And I don't mean to be rude, but like we don't need you, Dick. It's fine. Go enjoy your life.
What
like,
year do you think Dickie
we can
V
move
was
on?
born in?
Dickie V, Dick Vitale. You're talking about Dick Vitale?
Yep.
You're talking about Richard Vitale, aka Dick. What year was he born in?
Yep.
So you're asking me when?
To be clear,
1937?
1939.
Oh.
His coaching career was 63 to 79.
Oh.
That's at the point where like Dick Vitale, you might not need to call. Like you might have had a good career. Maybe.
Yeah.
You're 85.
He's 85.
If I'm 85,
dude, I've been dead.
yeah. Dude.
If I'm 85, I've been dead, dude.
Speaking of being dead, I'm officially out of the Kyle Neptune race.
Oh, dude, that sucks. I think everybody is.
Yeah.
Mark, you're still in. February 6th.
Oh, that's true. I guess DePaul, he's got DePaul coming up. Yeah, he's not getting fired. So they'd have to lose all. Yeah, I think if they beat Providence on Friday, they held on to win that one. If he would have lost that one, that would have been 3 in a row, and then
You could get it to like 7.
You could have got it to 7, where it's capped off by like a 15-point loss to DePaul. Maybe I would have been in business, but I don't think it's happening.
That would have been here in Chicago too. You would have been on the sideline being like,
fire Kyle.
"You got to get this dude out.
Fire
This
Kyle.
coach stinks."
I have one more note before we get out of here, and I'm gonna update my stats to make sure I have the note right, because this is important, and this is just a huge fucking note that I don't think our listeners can go about their day without hearing this note. They're gonna need it. They need it bad. Now let me hit refresh, because we got to update these. We got to update this. We make sure we're accurate on this show. We don't just throw shit around out there. Yep. All right. Here's your note. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, who just spanked Arizona at home, low key win, massive win that happened over the weekend, because there were a lot of other big games that we've talked about, obviously, in the Big 12, for being as good of a conference as it is. I think the Big 10 and the SEC propaganda machines are turned all the way up right now, and I think they're dominating the conversations. And the Big 12 is kind of flying under the radar a little bit more, but yeah, that was a huge win that I want to acknowledge, one, but it also makes me want to acknowledge this. On Bracket Matrix, are you aware of Bracket Matrix? This is the resource you need. This is the resource we all need.
Okay.
It aggregates all of the bracketologists around the globe, from every corner of the globe. And it just basically averages out what all the bracketologists say. So it's like,
this is great.
So you don't have to rely on any one bracketologist. It's like, here's what the consensus bracket looks like, right? On Bracket Matrix, the Texas Tech Red Raiders are currently on the bubble. They are a 10 seed according to Bracket Matrix, according to all the bracketologists out there. On Kenneth Pomeroy's own website, kenpom.com, which is I believe his flagship website. That's his most important one. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are 12th in the entire country. They are 12. The KenPom says they're the 12th best team in the country. Bracket Matrix says they're a 10 seed in the NCAA tournament. Do what you want with that information.
So who's wrong?
Do what you want with that information.
You're saying someone is egregiously wrong.
I'm saying there might be a world where Texas Tech gets into the tournament and is drastically underseeded and just kind of fuck shit up for people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know. I'm just calling that out. That's pretty crazy. That's a pretty absurd discrepancy.
No, that is.
So there you go. Anything else before we go?
No.
National championship thoughts?
I feel really good.
What are you doing if they lose?
Tressel and Gruden screwed me over. People want me to walk now, so it'd be the first Barstool After Dark after the hole-in-one. It's walk from here to Notre Dame Stadium to deliver him a trophy dressed as a leprechaun.
Oh, boy.
But that goes right through Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, you're walking through Gary, dude.
Is that a problem?
Yeah. No, yeah, but
I would have security detail, and I would also be a leprechaun.
I mean, Gary's not like I mean, it's not like Gary. It's not like you're fucking like your chum in a fucking shark-infested water.
That's
where,
what I
the
thought.
second you step over the city lines, you're just gonna get fucking murdered. Like that's probably overstating it a little bit, but
Especially
also
going at like 9 in the morning.
yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, but also yeah, like obviously Gary's not a place you want to like.
Will you say
hang out.
goodbye to me before we, just in case? Like, is it that type of situation?
No, because then I think I could get content out of having not said goodbye. I think I could do like
said goodbye.
I think on the next show I could be like, you know what's fucked up, dude? I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And I think if I say everything that needs to be said, then there's kind of nothing left to be said. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Very.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm gonna save some stuff. That way, I got to look out for number one, dude.
Always.
Something goes wrong. All right, we're if you're watching this on Monday, we will be streaming tonight the football national championship. Ohio State is playing, and I am also very confident, which terrifies me, and we shall see. But hopefully the Buckeyes get it done because we need it. We need it more than anybody, really. The way this basketball team is playing is breaking my heart. So
we go to Purdue on Tuesday night. That'd be
that's not good.
I know, but
We're gonna lose.
Listen, we're
gonna lose to Purdue, dude.
We have to start getting a couple things to talk about for our resume.
I'm getting greedy because we beat Kentucky in this manner, so I need to shut the fuck up and stop acting like it never happens. But I so badly just want another instance of like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right.
Or we're just hot and we're beating a really good team, and yeah, I would like for it to be Purdue. That would be nice. That would be nice to have like the well, Purdue's got to lay another stinker at some point. Why can't it be against us? Why can't we beat Purdue by 15 in Mackey and just be like, holy shit, where did that come from? I just want the where did that come from. And right now we're getting bad where did that come from.
Yeah, we have bad ones.
All right, that's the show. Watch the national championship stream tonight if you want, or don't. I don't really care. We're going to do it either way, but it'll be out there for you. Otherwise, we will see you on Thursday.